I went to Japan in November. I was there for 3 weeks. So I did a variety of things, had a really great time. So I'll continue here. So I went Tokyo. I spent a couple days there, and then I went to Kyoto, and then I spent a couple days down here at Naoshima, which is one of the art islands. So my first day, I went just walking around Tokyo. I went to Meiji Castle. It's also a shrine, and there's a little bonsai garden there. So this is the couple days around Tokyo. Now, I lived in Tokyo in around 1973 for a year. My family was over there. I was in high school, and we lived in Sangubashi. So I kind of returned to my roots. It's very, very different. At the time I lived there, it was almost like a little village, and there was sort of an American compound, but now it's, been subsumed in the city. Uh, Yoyogi Park was near where we lived, and the beautiful ginkgo trees had all turned yellow, so that was lovely. And then I continued over to Meiji Castle and Shrine. It was very, very busy over there. You can see the kids. They're all dressed up. They were having a 3, 5, and 7 celebration. So when the kids reach each time they reach those ages, they bring them to the shrine and get blessings. Japan has a very low birth rate, and in the past they've many times children wouldn't make it past those 3 ages. So now it's a celebration. This is also on the shrine. The sake makers send and the rice makers send packages and barrels of their wares to the shrine to be blessed every year. Now, this was my favorite, Hachiko the dog. Shibuya Crossing is the busiest pedestrian crossing in the world, and it was very busy. But Hachiko is the dog who waited every day for his owner at the train station. And I don't know that it was Shibuya exactly, but I think it was another train station, but the statue is there. And then there's a movie, an English movie about it in English. Yeah, it was a decent movie, but anyway. So then I decided I'd take a bike ride around Tokyo, and this was a great, great thing to do. Soshi was just wonderful, and he brought us down like all these little alleys, and he brought us. This was a shrine to sumos, and this big cement thing was how tall the sumos are. They're very big, and it's a very difficult sport, and they have to eat certain things, and they have quite a rigorous workout. So there's a shrine to them, and there's our group. So we did all kinds of things. Then I went on to Kyoto. So now I decided to take this bullet train, and I got in the green car, which is kind of first class. I just thought I would, for ha-has. And they ask you, do you want to sit on the side to see Mount Fuji? So of course I said yes. I didn't actually get up any closer to Mount Fuji, but it was nice to see it from the train. Now these trains are amazing. They go like every 5 minutes, and it only takes 2 hours to get to Kyoto, and it's to drive a car would probably take you 7 or 8 hours. So these bullet trains are wonderful. So I sort of had this vague notion I was going to hike on this Kyoto Trail. I had seen a video about it and heard about it, but it's not really like one trail. I'm thinking the Appalachian Trail in Connecticut. So you get on it at the border of New York, and then you walk up to Massachusetts. All right. It's not really like that. There's all kinds of side trails, and there's different pieces of it. And anyway, so I did a few day trips on it. So it's about 80 miles or more. And it has a lot of, some of it goes through like town, some of it's dirt, some of it's roads, sidewalks, a lot of steps. There's like an amazing amount of steps. It goes through all these temples. You can get to a lot of places by public transportation. So it was a lot of fun. So I hired a guide my first day on doing the Kyoto Trail, and we probably did about 7 or 8 miles that day. Um, and the first thing was go to the bamboo forest. Now, there's a number of bamboo forests, and a lot of those are on Instagram and so forth. This was kind of a quiet one, which was nice. And he brought me up to the bamboo forest in this really funky way. I'm like, where the hell are we going? It was like this alley, and then there was this like road, the abandoned road. At any rate, we got there in one piece. It was fine. And so you can see all the different kinds of bamboo. And then from the bamboo forest, we hiked up to this Otagi Nembutsuji temple. And Jizos are those little these statues. And I guess they to raise money, people could have their Jizo made and put there. So they were surfers and people with Walkmans. This was in the 70s or 80s, and sunglasses. They were hysterical. It's a very Japanese type of humor. And here's the Torii means gate, so Torii gate is kind of saying the same thing twice, but there are a lot of them are red. And I made the mistake. I had some directions to meet somebody at a red gate, and then I realized there were like so many of them, I couldn't figure it out. But anyway, here's some more of those Jizos, and then I got to ring the bell, all of bells.
As red.
So I thought that was kind of cool. And Nori-san said it was okay to ring him. I was like, well, I don't know if I should ring him. He goes, no, 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 go ahead. So this was his favorite section of the trail. Um, and then there's a Buddha. They have shrines and they have temples. The temples are for the Buddhist and the shrines are for Shinto. But in the Japanese culture, they're very connected. And I really couldn't tell them apart very much. So there's certain ways. Obviously, if there's a Buddha statue, that's for Buddhism. And the Torii gate usually means shrine, but a lot of times you'll see both in sort of the same area. So, and then we stopped. The wonderful thing about hiking in Japan, there's a lot of little tea shops along the way. So we stopped at this little tea shop here. And yuzu is like a lemon, but it's sort of sweeter and has a better taste. I just went crazy over the yuzos were just wonderful. I brought home a bunch of yuzu syrup and but we had some noodles and all that. And then part of our hike, we went in the monkey park, and I'm just not thrilled with monkeys. Fortunately, I didn't see any. And then we got a view of this Hosagama boat ride is very, very popular, and it's a big internet sensation. And I guess Nori-san actually does that certain times of the year. I didn't, bother to do that. And then he kind of left me. So he said, "Oh, we're done." I'm like, okay. So I had to find my way back to the train station. And this is I did take this shot. I went back there. This wasn't on the day we went with Nori-san. It was a little less crowded, but you can see all these people here. And they actually kind of have crossing guards and they tell you, got to keep moving, keep moving. You're not allowed to stop on the bridge. It's pretty funny. And then this is a kimono forest. It's near the train station, and they light it up at night. And a lot of people in Naoshima, they dress up in these kimonos. You can go to a shop and get yourself dressed up, get your hair put up, and walk around town in the kimono and take photographs. So this is like what people do on Sunday afternoons. You can't catch me getting those clothes on. Go crazy. At any rate, so this was a really good day. Fushimi Inari. Inari has to do with foxes and rice. Don't ask me. And it's obviously the Shinto's there. And it's a very ancient one, 700 CE. And it has the 10,000 gates, red gates. And this you'll see a lot on the Instagram, but it's really cool. You want to go early in the morning because it gets really busy. But if you keep hiking up, like you keep walking, it's like the first quarter mile. It's like going to national parks here, Grand Canyon or something. After a quarter mile, you've got the trail to yourself. This here is like sample trail junction signs. So the Google Translate came in very handy. My map I had with me was kind of sketchy and I don't know, whatever. I just kind of figured out where I was going. Now, this here, I was really fascinated by this tree. I think it's alive. But you go and you rub the knobs on it, and it's supposed to help your knees, and it's considered very special. Its roots are um, very symbolic in Buddhist beliefs, and it's called pine tree with uplifted roots, and then it's got a whole bunch of stuff to explain it. So, and then I finally got to the top of Fushimi Inari, and along the way, you can see these fox shrines. There was literally, I don't know, 10 or 15 of them, and I guess you can just stop and you clap your hands and you bow and you move on. And this was the last gate, and then I was out on sort of the dirt path for a while. Then I had to go down the other side of Inari Mountain, and um, I had another bamboo forest, which was really cool. And then these vending machines are ubiquitous. Everywhere you go, they sell beer, coffee, drinks, I don't know, water. Like in the middle of nowhere, you'll find one. And then I had to go through kind of a residential area, and I went to this unmanned store. This was the best thing. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of cash with me, but there were like handmade books, so I picked up a couple of those. And there was no one there, but they're very trustworthy for the most part. Or well, Japanese think everybody's trustworthy. Obviously, they're not, but they're honest. And then we went by the neighborhood shrine to good water. There's a whole story behind the shrine, how some monk was sent to get water for tea, and he went to the wrong place and brought back better water, and so they made a shrine there. And then, of course, there's more temples and shrines along the way. So I mean, you'll find like shrines and temples like from like 3 feet by 3 feet to huge, huge, huge things that were castles at one time. So everywhere you go, even any little neighborhood, there's some little shrine there. It's amazing. Oops, wait a minute. Okay, next one. All right. Besides trying to hike and bike, I also did the cultural thing. So I got to go to the Buddhist temple and do a zazen session. They burn the incense, and then when the incense is done, your Zen meditation's done, and they go around and kind of tap you with a stick. I guess they really hit people. I don't know. They didn't hit me. They were tapping you on the shoulder if you look like you're going to fall asleep. Of course, they ask your permission first, so it's not entirely a surprise. And then we had a tea ceremony after, but he was wonderful. I really enjoyed talking to him. And then I went to the twisting museum, and that's like Japanese tie-dye, and I made that scarf, and that was super cool. I really enjoyed that. Of course, they helped me do it quite a bit, but I came up with a nice scarf. And then I went to the No Theater, and we got to meet with the performers afterwards. And this is a family, so you got a father and the two sons, and then behind them is this. I don't think the name is a kimono, but that's part of their what they wear on the stage, and it was really fascinating. It's very structured. It's very written down. They have certain words they have to say, and it's been ancient. It's very ancient. They've been doing this the same way for centuries. Of course, you can't go to Kyoto without going to the gardens. And Rojanji Temple in the 15 Rocks was something I really, really wanted to go to. My brother got to go to it back when I lived there, when I was, in high school, and I didn't get to go. So I'm like, I am going this time. So you go there, and it's just a bunch of people. They're on the Ngawa, that's the Japanese word for porch, and they're just looking at these rocks. So there's 15 rocks, and you can only see, no matter where you go to view it, you can only see no more than 14. You can never see all the rocks at once. So that's kind of a Zen thing. So there's the one view of the garden. And then I went to a couple other dry gardens over here. Now, Temple, that was the best garden I went to. Everything was the Japanese maples were in color, and these are persimmons. They were bright orange, and it was just spectacular there. Okay, so then I took a break from Kyoto, went down to Naoshima, which is one of the three art islands. So I took the train again, and they decorate their trains. That's so cool. And then I took a ferry. I don't know what this timetable was about. It had nothing to do when the ferries were leaving. You just go, you get your ticket, they say wait in line, and then when they have 30 people, they send the ferry out. I don't really understand how it works, but you just have to go with the flow, I guess. And then when I got to Naoshima, I rented an e-bike. And that was a little interesting because there was a holiday the next day and nobody wanted to rent me a bike because they couldn't come out and help me if I needed help. And I was just like, just rent me the bike. So finally, the third guy rented me the bike. And I was about from the ferry to where I was staying was a couple of miles. So I really did need a bike. There is a bus. A bus goes around the island, but I thought the bike would be good. So this is where I stayed. I stayed in this trailer, and like it looks big, but it's really kind of miniature. And I'm not a really tall person, but boy, it was pretty small. And then they had yurts, and we were right near this beach, and it was just really lovely. But then, of course, I had to go see the art. So I went to the Ando Museum, and they have this Ando glass tea house on the outside. It's very, very famous in the art world. And it's in a reflecting pool, so you kind of have to walk around it, and it looks different from all the different angles. And then they have all kinds of outdoor exhibits. The Nikki de Saint Fele has all these really fun characters in different colors. And then there was inside the museum, of course, too, this huge David Hockney. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I had never seen a picture of that before. And he's, obviously very colorful as well. And then this Kasuma she's the one who does all the pumpkins with dots on them. And I have some pictures of that. But if you look here, that's me inside the dot, a reflection. But this is the blow up. There's all the round things floating out in the pond there. And that was part of the Valley Gallery that Ando's the architect who did all these buildings on this island. These, I don't know what artist did this, but it's slag from the nuclear accident. Now, I don't know if they're still radioactive or not. I don't know. And this here is a print, and I don't know who did that. I tried to figure that out. I don't think it was Ando, but it was very striking. So now there's Katsuma. She does those pumpkins with the dots. And of course, I had to kind of get a selfie there. There was an orange one, and I went by it, and tried to take a selfie, and the light was weird, and I got someone else to take a picture of me, and that was weird too. And then I came back the next day, and they had removed it. Anytime a wind comes, and there was a wind, there was a big storm, and they take down some of these exhibits, but this one is a permanent one. And then these art houses. So there's a lot of abandoned houses. The Japanese have, the young people leave the villages. There's not much for them to do there. There's not many colleges out in the, countryside. So this village was really suffering before they came in, and I don't know his name. There's some billionaire made these museums. So they take these abandoned houses and they give them to artists, and then they're allowed to do whatever they want with them. And so it was very hard to get pictures of it because a lot of it was either dark, like one of them I went in was all neon numbers. So and sometimes they don't let you take pictures. So it was very contemporary type of art. Uh, okay, so food and drink is very important. This one here, when I went to the Ando Museum, that was actually on Naoshima. When you get done, you go through the gallery in a certain direction, and then when you get done, you come out and you sit down, and they serve you tea and a Japanese treat. So that was lovely. And then over here, I was in one of those temple gardens, and it's kind of the same thing. This one you had to pay extra for. They give you a little sweet and the matcha, and you sit and enjoy the surroundings while you drink that. It's very nice. So, And then in Kyoto, particularly, they have something called a kaseki meal, which is has it can have anywhere from 6 to 15 different courses, and they alternate between rice, soups, noodles, and whatever else this is. I didn't know how to eat this because a lot of it, I didn't know what was edible or not, but apparently most of it's edible. So you get candy chestnut ball with dried soma noodles, pine cone shaped taro, all kinds of stuff, persimmon shaped sweet potato. I mean, this is all savory. There's nothing sweet about it, but so I was like looking at other people's tables to see what I could eat because I didn't know. And then the waitress came over, she says, "Oh, you can eat it all except the bowl." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So like even these like pine cone things, it's all edible. It was delicious. Okay, so this was back to now that we took a break for art and food and culture, we'll get back to hiking. This is the Philosopher's Path, and it's a very famous section of the Kyoto Trail. And the Philosopher Path starts here and it goes along a canal. And so a bunch of Jizos. Now, these Jizos all have like little bibs on them. And I don't know, the Japanese just like cute things. Foxes can have bibs on them, Jizos can have bibs on them, but certain other creatures, statues cannot have Jesus on them, and I don't really know why, but that's the way it is. So, and in the background, those are some of the flowers because it was their autumn season. All right, so I wrote a little poem. Well, it's a long poem, but I'll just read you 3 sections of it. So I kept seeing benches, and I said, you know what? I'll write a poem for each bench along the philosopher's path because it was named Philosopher's Path for a professor at the local university who his field was philosophy, and he had a big influence on even Western philosophy. So, but I'll read you the poem. Bench number 6. A busker is playing a biwa, which is a lute. The notes float along the canal like boats made of leaves. I toss a few coins in the box. Bench number 7. I spy a secret garden behind a gate. I see moss and one persimmon tree. The persimmons explode with orange. Bench number 9. Up the hill from the canal, fountain provides water noises. Many stairs again. At last, a bench. I was ready to sit down on that one. So here's the little boat. There was like a man making these out of leaves, and you just take one and you make a wish and throw it in the canal. And of course, again, a lot of temples and shrines along the way. So I stopped at a few of them. There was a nice snake at one of them. And this is the Biwa Canal, which is sort of an extension of the Philosopher's Path. And that was just some sculpture I saw there. So this was a really fun day going to Karama. Now I was going to go to Ohara. I was like I did a lot of planning, research, and Ohara's on the Kyoto Trail, and it has an onsen, which is hot water, whatever, hot springs. And Nori-san, my guide the first day, said, "Don't bother." Don't go to O'Hara. I'm like, oh, okay. So I was like, you know what? I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I looked and looked and looked, and this Karama had never come up in any of the research I'd done. It was like 2 or 3 uh train stops past the O'Hara one. But I'm like, I'll just go do this one. And it was great. So you get off the train and you see this big statue of the Tengu. So he protects the forest monks. He's considered a trickster, almost like a Pinocchio, and he's part bird. He may tell you the truth, he may not. I don't know. And then, of course, this is the train going to Karama, and notice it's got all these beautiful decorations, and it's purple, and you got a conductor there. It's a tourist train, so it's very cute and fun. And then these are a few things I saw at Karama. Of course, these lanterns are all these shrines and temples. Now, this here, you're supposed to purify yourself before you uh, meditate or pray. So, I mean, I didn't do this because people spit the water out and stuff, and I don't know how clean it is, but so you wash your hands and you're supposed to wash your mouth out with the water. So, but you can choose to do that on your own. And then I got to the top of the mountain and I'm like, oh man, this is ugly from a, I'm a trail maintainer or have been in the past. And I'm like, whoa, that's a lot of erosion. But then I found out the Buddhists actually like to have the roots showing because that's part of their teachings or something. And also because there's probably a million people up there at the top, but it is considered like a sacred uh, tree, the trees, sacred area. No. So here's a few more pictures of Karama. They have these giant cedar trees, really giant. So there's few out there in the forest. And beautiful, all the Japanese maples and the lanterns. And it's quite a walk up. There was, I think, 41 different stops. I didn't stop at all of them, obviously. But this was one sign that really got me. Don't stare the macaques in the eyes. Now the macaques are monkeys, and I could hear them, and I'm not a big monkey fan. But I got all, and I was like, oh my gosh, what if I accidentally look at the macaque and I'm up there by myself? But actually, the Japanese are not worried about the macaques. They are very worried about bears, though, and I was not worried much about bears. I'm like, bears? There's bears. There's always bears, but they're having a problem with bears over there now attacking people. But I didn't see any bears either. Not so much in Kyoto, maybe northern Japan. So then you do the hike and then you come back down the hill a little bit. And then you got to go back up another hill to get to the onsen. And the onsen is the hot spring. And you're not allowed to take pictures in there, obviously, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. Um, they're segregated by male and female. And you go in and you got to take your shoes off. And they give you some slippers. And then I was carrying around flip-flops in my bag, but they didn't like me using the flip-flops, so I had to use their whatever. And then you have to really scrub down. And now their showers are like halfway. They're only like 3 or 4 feet high, so you have to take a sitting shower. So you get like a little stool, and you sit on the stool and you take your shower. And then you go in the hot tubs. And then the hot tub had everything from like a soapy one, a really, really hot one. They had one they called radioactive. I don't know what that was. They had one they called electric. That was a little scary, but I did my best. And then you get out of the hot tub and you have to go take another shower. And it's very considered rude to take standing showers. All right, and then there's just a couple other miscellaneous things. I stayed in a machiya, which is a sort of it was a half Western, half Japanese house. It had the sliding door and it has these flags in front, which a lot of guest houses have. And so it had like a Western bedroom, but it had a couple of Japanese tatami rooms. And then it had a little garden in the back, which is one reason I wanted to stay there. It had a lovely garden you could go sit in. And then it was very close to everything. This was Shimogo in Kyoto, very close to restaurants, stores, trains, but it was quiet. It was like a little, I don't know, great little place to stay, I have to say. So, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the bathrooms. This place, well, a lot of places they have a lot of bathrooms in Japan, and they're very nice. A lot of bidets. So the bidets aren't just well, they have hot. They you can sit. The seats will get warm. They play music. I mean, they had like a million controls on the thing. You got to figure out how to flush it. That's my, big thing. You got to make sure you can flush it. But so that was a bit of an experience. And then if they don't have bidets, they have like a porcelain hole. Now, when I lived there back in 19 whatever 73 or 4, all there were holes. So you had to squat. So they've come a long way, okay? And then another little side trip I took was to Nara, so I have to, just throw this in here. They have the giant Buddha. It's like 49 feet tall, big gold Buddha, and then the deer. And you can buy cookies to feed the deer, which the cookie place had closed up by the time I got there, and I'm not too big about feeding. Well, they're semi-wild, I guess. I don't know. The monks take care of them. And this is If you listen to Alt J at all, they have a bunch of songs about Nara. So that was one reason I had to go there. And then this is just another side thing I did. This is in Kyoto. Yakasaka Shrine is one of the most popular shrines, and you should go at night because it's all lit up. And Gion is the very traditional area that has all the geishas and makos, and they're all in their kimonos. It's kind of rude to ask them if you ask to take pictures of them, so I really didn't get to make pictures of them. I was trying to be, considerate tourists. They've had a lot of problems with tourists doing things like cutting down bamboos and marking up sacred places and just generally being rude. So I didn't want to be rude. So if you go to Kyoto, though, do try to get to that area at night. It's lovely. And that's the end. That's one of the temples, I believe, Jinkakuji. And then I made a monotype out of that photograph. So, and that's it. So if people have questions, I'll try to answer them. And we'll leave it at that. So.
I was just wondering how was your itinerary planned, and it seemed like you were picking up guides. Did you kind of have a plan laid out, or how did you arrange your 3 weeks?
Okay, so I knew I didn't want to spend an awful lot of time in Tokyo, but I
Hmm.
wanted to see few things. Like I said, my old stomping grounds. Tokyo is a huge modern city. It's like you go to New York City and there's Times Square. That's like multiplied.
Yeah.
But it's a very nice city, and there's tons of stuff to do there. You will never be bored. But I was like, really wanted to go to Kyoto. Like I said, I didn't get to do that when I was in high school, and also that's the center of Japanese culture. Their original capital was in Kyoto, and then they moved up to Tokyo. I don't know when. They have a much longer history than we have. Uh, and they've managed to preserve, even though Kyoto is a big modern city, they've managed to preserve quite a few of those temples and shrines and historic buildings, even like that Machiya I was staying in. So that was part of the reason. And I Googled things. I tried a few itineraries. I made sure I had a place to stay. But I was pretty confident I could navigate around using the public transportation. And I have to say, I did pretty good. The only time I really only had one thing I kind of goofed up. I got on the wrong train going to when I went to Naoshima. You have to take two or three different trains, and I took the wrong one, and I ended up out in the middle of nowhere, and I had to get off the train. They're like, the train isn't moving, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I got off the train, and then I figured out another one would be coming along in about half an hour. That's the nice thing. Japan has wonderful public transportation. So the next train came, and I got on that one, and then that one took me to where I wanted to go. So I mean, everything is in English letters and Japanese, and the Google Translate does a pretty good job. And Google itself does a pretty good job telling you what trains to do, but sometimes it was not quite right or something. But you have to use your common sense. And
What about that art island?
yeah, well, I had seen that Art Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that really ritzy. I mean, you can stay in
Yeah.
the museum. It's like, I don't know, probably $1,000 a night. And they come over to where you have to take the ferry and bring you over in a private boat, and then they'll shuttle you around in a private bus and limousine all week, or whatever you want to do. But I saw that campground and I'm like, oh, that sounds really nice. And it really was glamping. They had showers and they had a cook thing. And um, so I stayed there. I would say the only thing, and I brought food with me. I was a little concerned. They said they had food like in one of these vending machines, which I was like, well, I don't know what that is. And they served dinner. So I did order the dinner. They had like a full hot pot dinner. So it was good, vegetables, meat, whatever. Breakfast, I don't know. And then the coffee, you could get tea, but I'm a coffee addict. And so one of the machines had some coffee and it comes out warmed up. It was really gross. But I got on my bike and I, you know, zipped up to the main town, and 7-Eleven was open. Nothing else was open except 7-Eleven. And 7-Elevens there have everything. They have all this convenience food. They have great coffee. They're open all the time. So I went to 7-Eleven, got my coffee. But I had just done research. I had just said, oh, I heard these art islands. I'm very into art. Do some art myself. And there's two other islands besides Naoshima. And then when I was there, I picked up brochures and whatever. I deliberately left some things not over planned. A lot of people go to Japan. Like my brother went to Japan and he said he saw 10 temples in one day. I'm like, that's not my style of traveling. I'd rather, do one temple and then hike up the mountain and, see what I can see, come down the other side. Who knows. Um, I did hire that guide the first day because, just to get my own bearings. And then I was like, well, I'm glad I hired him and he was a great guy and showed me some stuff I never would have been to. So that was good.
Mhm.
But then after that, I'm like, oh, I can handle this on my own. So, it depends on your comfort level, how you want to do it. So,
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
anything else? Okay, well, I will turn it back over to Phil and
Paula, quick question before
oh
you
yeah.
go.
Oh, okay.
So you felt comfortable on the trains. Had you taken those trains before, or that was a new experience?
Well, I took trains when I was in high school and I lived there.
Okay. It seems I know that they can be pretty complex, or that's what I've heard. So I was just curious if you found it easy.
Well, I'm not going to say it's entirely easy. Um, but you got to be patient with yourself. The Google was really helpful. The one I found a little difficult was um the buses in Kyoto. Uh, like Tokyo has all these subways, and I was pretty okay with that. But you can go to a train station and go out the wrong door, because they're big and there's a lot of underground stuff there, both in Kyoto and Tokyo. So that was a little challenging. I had to keep my phone charged, to make sure I could figure it out. There are a lot of information booths, and you can usually find someone who speaks English if you get a little confused. So, well, I don't know.
Very bold of you to do that. It seemed like a great trip.
Oh, it was. I was so glad I went. It's like something that I've been wanting to do for years and years.
Thanks for sharing it.
Yep, yep. Okay.
Well, Paula, thank you very much. I mean, this is an adventure, and I think that your braveness is something that we learn from and can go places that we are not familiar with, even by ourselves. And yeah, I'm glad you didn't meet a monkey or a bear.
Right.
So,
Yeah, me too.
yes. Yes. But maybe you could have taught them how to handle a bear encounter.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like when they started talking about the bears, I'm like, don't you carry pepper spray? Do you make sure the garbage cans are covered up? And no, I don't know. But they have aggressive bears. I think they got habituated or something, particularly in the north.
Okay. Well, thank you. And thank you all for coming on tonight. Um, Next month, February 18th will be our meeting again. It is only a Zoom meeting, and our speaker will be Steve Tatko. He is involved with AMC in the Maine wilderness and so forth. There is a new project up there, or relatively new, Whitecap Highland Forest. This place, fairly large, 127,000 acres. It is just being promoted by AMC, so I think that it is very timely that Steve will be with us and tell us about that. Again, this is a only Zoom meeting, so regardless of where you are, and to my knowledge, Steve is going to be in Maine. So again, thank you for coming. Lenny, Mark, any other comments?
Nope. Thank you.
Hearing none? Well, thanks again, and we will see you. I must show you my T-shirt. I got this my last trip in
Oh,
Nepal.
yeah.
I spent 2 nights in Yak Donald's, and I had a happy meal. Wonderful. So, see ya.
Thank you, Paula.
Thanks,
Yeah, thank
Paula.
you. Bye.
Bye.